We are live.
We are live. Hey everyone, welcome to Hack Shack Studios. This is where us hacks hang out and draw comic books. So we are going to do a portfolio review for you, which we haven't done in a while because they're a little laborsome. They take a little bit of time. You got to prep for these things. And thank you all for sending in your portfolios. And we got a lot of great ones this time out. So I am going to welcome Taylor Grosso to the portfolio review here, and she will be reading your chats. How are you, Taylor?
I'm great, Art. Thanks for asking. Yeah, chime in the chat. We do these live for a reason. If you're the one who maybe sent in this portfolio for review, you're going to be lucky hearing Art review it straight to you here. If you know the person, let them know they're being reviewed. And if you want to submit your portfolio, maybe you haven't yet, you can do so in the link in the description.
Yes. So, I just realized there was one I wanted to do, and he's an inker, and he inked me, actually. Is there any way we can grab a file? Would that be just too much?
You know what? I believe I can.
Okay.
So if you keep them busy, I'm going to see if I can find it. I think I remember his name.
I'll do my soft shoe. Yeah, is that Ray? It's Ray, isn't it?
It may be Ray. Let's see. You guys really came out with out of the fold, and
yeah.
Is this him? Let me see.
His name sounds familiar, because when we did the art book, remember we had blue lines, and we had a Blue Line Pro kind of tier, and we had people ink over my pencils, and I believe it was Ray.
Yeah, he did the Joker Harley by any chance?
I think it was. It's probably early, like towards the bottom, because he sent one in a while ago. If we can't find it, it's okay. We'll do it next time. But
maybe we'll do it for the next show. There's quite a few in here.
Yeah.
We got some Cyberfrog fan art. I was thinking it was the Nemish guy, but I don't think it is.
No, that Ray Alciovedo, is that his name, or?
I think so. I'm having a little trouble locating that particular Joker.
So that's all the way
piece.
up there?
Yes.
They can't see this, can they?
No, they're seeing just the
Okay.
We have a cover image up so you guys don't have to look through.
Yeah, we'll look for it. Gosh, I wanted to do that guy because he's been waiting for so long to get his inks reviewed, and I feel bad.
Yeah, maybe we'll make that a special for the next episode.
That's not him.
I'll locate that one. Let's see. And thank you guys for including your names, by the way. It's always very helpful.
Yeah, let's just move forward. Yeah, so sorry about that, guys. I thought we could find that quickly. So we're going to focus on one penciler today, and he's pretty good. His name is Thomas. How do you say that? Hedgelin? Hedgelin. And really, really good stuff. So, like I said, if there's anybody in the chat and has questions, they will all go through the amazingly talented Taylor, and she'll be chiming in and reading your chats. So, should we just get on with this?
Yeah, we got a title in the chat who said, "Whoa, just in time." You are just in time.
Yes, you are. Yeah, so let's go into this one. Ooh. All right, you guys, get the oohs and ahs out of the way. Ooh. Ah.
Dinosaurs.
This is like a chrono time stampede.
It totally is like a chrono time. This is like straight out of the movie script. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Look at that poor guy.
He's next on the list. She doesn't look as concerned. Because you know what? In these type of things, you don't have to be fast. You just have to be faster than the guy right next to you, right?
She's in pretty good shape, too.
Yeah.
Oscillapore Tosspots. It's been a while since I've seen one of these.
Yeah. Gosh, it's been months. Yeah, these are a little bit time-consuming, and we've been pretty much promoting this for the last month or so to get some new portfolio art in. And so we got quite a bit. If you guys still want to get your work kind of gone over by myself, then I'm sorry, you guys. I'm taking all this in. It's hard to talk and look at all this marvelous art at the same time. But yeah, send away, and the more we have, the more of these shows we can do. Okay, so should we go over all of them real quick, and then, all right. So this is a Daredevil kind of pinup cover type idea.
So precise.
Yes. So we got that. Am I doing the right thing, or do we need to go somewhere else for this?
No, you're good. Go ahead and look through them. Might as well.
Okay, can they see these, or are we still on the other?
Yeah. We're all
Okay.
set. We got a new setup this time, guys. You may have noticed we don't have the iPad just at the screen now. We can just show you the screen, which is a lot easier.
Yeah, so we're in OBS, which is good. So we have basically the Dino double page, right? We have the Batman page and the Daredevil page.
Yes.
Okay. So let's go. I don't know. I want to do the Batman page first. I think I'm going to do the Batman page first.
Yeah, this is an interesting one.
Yes. Do you want to sit down, Taylor?
I'll grab my chair. Let's see.
Yes. This could take a while. All right. This is always tough, you guys, because a lot of the artwork is so amazingly well done that it's hard to find anything. So.
And if anybody knows Thomas, or if Thomas is watching this, definitely tag him over.
Yes. So Thomas can see this. And at the very least, he can come back, because we're going to post this, so this will be up so he can come back and see this. Yeah, I would say right off the bat, it looks like he's from the Jason Fabok / Dave Finch school. And I've never inked Jason, but I have worked with Dave Finch. So I can see the influence. And the influences are never bad, but we should always strive to not necessarily wear the influences on our sleeve. So this stuff is still really close to his influences, but it's really, really well drawn. The anatomy's pretty solid. Perspective's pretty good. I'm already sensing something going on with the perspective in this first panel. Gordon looks a little like. Do you think Taylor, his head's a little big, maybe?
Yeah, I think a little bit. Art can sniff out a perspective mistake within seconds. So if you're thinking of submitting and you're questionable about how good your perspective is, you'll find out.
Oh, now the pressure's on. Yeah, the small figures are a little. I think like just the normal people figures are a little weak. But I'm just kind of doing an overall first, and then I'll get into specifics. These are great Batman faces, though.
It's aesthetically pleasing as a style.
Yeah. But like I said, I'd like to see Thomas kind of start getting into his own style, though. This still is a little derivative. Okay, let's get down to specifics now. Okay, and this is always like some kind of detective work I have to do here, so I usually have to draw lines. But I believe this is not going to go red, so there it is. That was weird, it looked black. Okay, so let's blow this line up a little bit more, make it bigger. So you can see it, and these are always hard to talk loud, and because I'm thinking while I'm talking, so I apologize if I mumble or my volume goes down. So here we have this, but then I'll go to the outer edge, and hopefully you guys can start seeing where Thomas veers from. I think he was probably trying to do what do they call those, like fisheye, where they bend out, but based on the way where he put the camera and that it's an upshot. And the way you can tell it's an upshot, let me get my other tool, is like you can't see the tops of the ledge of the building here, and you can't see either feet, like it's cropped right here at their kind of mid calf. So that usually is an indicator that it's an upshot. And also when you can start seeing the undersides of things, which you see the underside of this building here, that ledge, and when the lines are going in this direction, you can see these are going in this direction, which implies that there's a vanishing point somewhere in this direction. It's probably off of the drawing itself, but it's still there. So when you see all these lines going in this downward position like this, then you know that you're looking up at things, because your eye level is probably somewhere in here. So eye level means that's where your eye is, or the camera. Sometimes people say camera, some people say eye level. So it's down here, meaning all these vanishing points connect somehow to this eye level, or the horizon, or they call it a lot of different things. So let's clean this up a little bit and then get back into the main problem. So the main problem, I hope you guys can start seeing it, is this line, which is like extreme. That's this line here, and then this line here. And if you can see, it's starting to go, I'm exaggerating, but in this direction, like I wish I could point with my finger, but like this is the farthest extreme over here, and then this one is the farthest extreme over here. I try to make this as clear as possible, but sometimes it's a little difficult based on the limitations of what I can do on the computer. So what you're seeing is the lines are fanning out, but they're fanning out in the wrong direction. So they're fanning out as if the vanishing point was way down here. Like say the vanishing point it's way off this board, but that it's down here. So what you're seeing is those lines fan out in this kind of direction. Let me see. Let me go down here further. I'm going to take that little X out, and I'm going to draw one down here. So I think the vanishing point would be way off the board, but just to give you an idea of what Thomas did, is he took a vanishing point from below here, and he drew it up. And actually, it's weird when you're learning perspective. Your gut is like, oh, well, it's lower, so then the vanishing point would be down here, and that's how you draw these buildings. But it's not. It's actually your vanishing point for the buildings, if you're kind of doing an upshot, is way up here. So it's beyond this drawing. It's way off the drawing. So let's do this, and I made a layer so I can erase these lines. And so I hope you guys can see that the vanishing point shouldn't be down here, that it should be actually way above. It should be way up here somewhere. Like I said, it would be way off the board. So I don't know, let me see if I can do this, because to do this properly I would have to be drawing off board. So I'm going to start drawing my lines way off the board here for the vanishing point. So let's just say we go with his line here, with Thomas's line here. So what you would have, and I'm going to exaggerate this just so you guys can see, is these buildings should start going in this direction versus the direction that they're in. So all the right side, our right, the buildings kind of look like they're working. But way over to the extreme left, these lines are starting to go in this direction. So you can see how they're counter to the vanishing point that would be way up here off the board. So do you see this, Taylor?
Can you zoom in a little bit? Just
Okay.
Okay.
So let me get this tool out. So this line, and these three here are all kind of in perspective, with a vanishing point that is way above this drawing. But right over here, kind of where the inset panel is, where the bat signal is, the vanishing point is changing. It's like lower instead of above it. And so it's going in, this is the one I'm talking about, this line. It's going in the wrong direction. It should keep going in, let me see if I could do this, in kind of this direction. So see how these lines are all lining up, and they're kind of starting to fan out from the top to the bottom out. But this line right here, the one that Thomas drew, and he drew all these buildings on the left-hand side behind this Batman inset panel, are all wrong. So as well as they're drawn, they're really not working. So either I would go with the extreme, like, or a vanishing point well above, or I would have just made all these buildings straight, like just kind of straight across. So that's what I would have done. And so right off the bat, I would say very ambitious, buildings drawn very well. The details are all really nice and stuff. But right behind this Batman panel, they start veering off and going into very strange directions. This bat signal is amazingly well drawn. It seems like you know how to use the ellipses and your curves very well, because that's actually way more difficult than the perspective that I just showed you. And also, you guys, Thomas did nail it. But when you draw these, when you draw characters, like let's say you have this character, the Gordon character, he's in this motion. So then Batman would still be, like, you know, that X, that vanishing point that we drew way up above, they would all be following this same perspective line, meaning they'll fan out too. So if you had a figure here, behind Batman, the figure would be drawn in this position, versus the way the perspective is now, which would be in this position. So you can, well, actually it's a little bit more exaggerated than that. Yeah, kind of in that position. So, and then so on, like back here, you can really see it. Like they would kind of be leaning over and looking like they're falling down. So the way they should go, these figures should go, is, let's get rid of the little dots too, is they should be, if they're going to be exaggerated, they should be exaggerated in this direction.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's that. It looks like your other perspective is pretty on, but let's just check it just to see.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, but Antoine Tarnoud says, "Am I the only one having trouble with the legs?"
Oh yeah, I'll get into more specifics. Yeah, that's a good call. Let me finish up with the perspective here, and then we can get into maybe some of the anatomy stuff. So yeah, this looks pretty good. So he found his two vanishing points on the left and right based on the eye level or horizon. So those look pretty good. And so also keep in mind, which he did, this is really good, is this Batman is pretty much, see where you find the shoulders, is also, if he's lined up with these buildings and everything on this same perspective, and he's not three-quartered, all of these lines, like his belt, his elbows, If his hand was similar, like down like this one, the elbows would all match in perspective. So you can see that his knees are pretty much lined up with the other knee. His shoulder, his right shoulder is lined up with his left, and even like the eyes and the ears would all be lined up in perspective, which you nailed. Look at Gordon's glasses. Look at this guy in the background, the SWAT guy. His glasses are all lined up on this. So you did like 90% of it is right on. It's just kind of over here where it gets bent up a little bit. So, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to get the eraser tool and see if I can just take this out real easy. Yeah. And so, yeah, so that's that. So I think the chat wants me to get into the anatomy of the whole thing.
People are curious about those legs.
I don't know. I'm gonna defer to you, Taylor. Well, you know what? I'm gonna defer to you, and then I'm gonna defer to the chat. But I'm gonna defer to the chat first. What specifically do you see wrong with the legs? And do you see anything wrong with the legs?
From here, he looks a little long in general. I feel like his body's very elongated. In general, but his knees do look like they're pointing a little inward or something. Like maybe possibly a little. Both knees kind of look like they're pointing inward, and there's a definite strange shape happening with the. I can't tell if it's the left leg is turned or the right leg is turned out. There's something strange going on. I think with the thigh in particular, and also the knees.
Yeah, I think maybe the knee.
Alpha Proto says, is he bow-legged?
Yeah, so maybe if the knee was more facing in this direction, because right now it looks like it's kind of facing more in this direction, like out. So, yeah, maybe a little bow-legged. Oops, get away, gooey. Okay. Oh, shoot. You know what? I'm going to get the eraser tool out again, and I'm mumbling. Sorry. So, yeah. So, maybe the knee positioning a little bit. Maybe a little bit elongated, but superheroes, it depends on the style, can be a little elongated, and they can get away with it. But, yeah, I think your assessment, Taylor, and the chat was right. Like maybe if the knee was a little bit more going in this direction, and then this one maybe a little bit more in this direction. And they are kind of like if you drew them out. How would I do this? They kind of start, and that's why always draw through, at least partially through your drawing.
Very long.
So it is pretty long, and I drew them a little thicker and everything than they are. But this leg looks like maybe if it was a little straighter, this leg right here was a little more straight. Or, you know what? I know. If this back leg was a little more straight.
Mark C in the chat says, his leg from his crotch to the bottom knee appear to be longer than 2 heads tall. And Sheldon says, I think his calves are popped out to the outside too much.
Yeah, exactly. And like maybe if this back leg was a little straighter, then you wouldn't see as much of the, so it's more like this.
That helps.
That's a really thick leg that I just drew there. But yeah, I think you guys called it right. So there you go. And then I think that Gordon is suffering from some rhythm and balance problems. He looks like his center is a little too far over this way. And so it looks like he's really thrusting out his lower waist. So like if you kind of centered it, it looks like the crotch, this area is going, that was getting to become rude. I was going to Rudesville, but it looks like it's going in this direction. So I'll make the arrow line a little higher than exactly at his crotch. So I think just based on this, you can already start seeing that maybe the shoulder should come out a little bit more in this direction. I haven't tried to draw with a mouse in a while, so I got to get my skills down. So maybe more like this with the figure. So kind of, move the waist, his hips and everything over back to the right, because right now it looks like his body's being thrust forward. And I do believe that that's probably why you were having, or Thomas was having a hard time kind of with this shoulder over here to find that. So let's move on. So I don't know. I think for my taste, some of the heads are a little wide in this direction, like across. What do you think, Taylor?
I think you're spot on about that. I couldn't quite place. There's something strange about the proportion of that Batman's face.
Yeah, I think it's just it's a little wide, and I think maybe his shoulder should come in, not quite there, but maybe a little bit closer. It's a little far out.
Jeremy says this reminds me a little bit of Dale Keown.
Maybe, but I do think it's more out of the Jason Fabok. I hope I'm saying his last name right, and where Jason got his style from is like Dave Finch. So I think it's from more of that school. So the next panel, I think the Batman figure is pretty good. I think there's a little bit. I think Batman and Superman usually have a little bit more of a back of a neck. So he looks a little bit more like normal human proportion with the back of his neck. That's really thick. So like more like that. And then there's kind of a rhythm and a balance kind of flow problem to some of the figures, and it seems like it's mostly the human figures. The superhero figures look pretty good, and I don't know. How does the chat feel? Do you think that this Batman figure should be a little bit bigger than these three over on the right hand side? Like these guys are a little small over here.
Mark C says I was thinking Dave Finch. I personally I'm more of a Lee Weeks guy, but the rendering style is a personal taste.
Lee Weeks is amazing.
Yes, he is. They do look. I don't know. I'm looking at the size of that door right now. Everybody looks a little bit big-headed or something in that.
Yeah, these three are a little big-headed, but they also look a little big in proportion to Batman, because they look like they were behind Batman here in this first panel, so they're a little smaller. But here in the second panel, they look a little bigger to me.
Yeah, that woman almost looks bigger than
Batman. So I think if Batman was a little bigger, and I think just start perhaps drawing people in suits and like normal people a little bit more, possibly less comic book, because a lot of like, I don't know, Dave Finch is pretty good, but I think some of his suits and his folds and things aren't necessarily his strengths. So maybe start looking at more suits, like real suits, jackets, ties, things like that. There's plenty of stuff on the internet, and his foot looks really, really big.
Mark C says, and I want to see if you agree with this. I don't like his panel flow. My eye doesn't naturally go through the page.
Yeah, it's a little stiff, a little uninspired. That first panel is really really good, but this second panel is a little weak. Um, yeah, I think we've already covered like his normal civilian characters, and if she's supposed to have goggles on like his, they look really tiny. So there's some proportional problems here with the smaller figures. Um, the Gotham City PD guy, I know he's got a helmet on, but his head looks exceptionally big. So there's a little bit of scale problem, I think, in the second panel. And some of what you might be thinking that it's kind of there's a flow problem or there's a lack of maybe some inspiration or movement is even though he tilted the camera in the second panel, this building behind these three characters, it almost looks like kind of like a puppet show. You know how it's very formal. There's a backdrop and then there's the characters right in front.
Yes.
And then there's the stage or I forget what that's called, the proscenium or whatever. The edge of it kind of looks very, very flat. So what I would have done to make it more dynamic is let's just say, let's put the vanishing point way over here. And it probably is going to be too exaggerated. The vanishing point probably should go off of the page. But if you put the building more in perspective, like I said, this is way too exaggerated. But if you did something like this, but let's just say you did this as a vanishing point, then you could actually take this rooftop here, and I'm just kind of trying to maybe get more inspired. So let's just say that last line that I drew is the edge of the building is this edge that's right here, but it's right here now. So you could make this a little bit more of a down shot, and so then you could bring your other, I don't know where it would be, like ledge down here. So then let me see if I can bring this together for you guys because it's looking a little confusing. But you have this wall here, so you keep the same tilt, but then you have the bottom of the buildings here, and then you have your door here. And then I'll erase some of the lines so you guys can see, and hopefully it'll all come together.
I can already see it looks better to me.
Yeah, so maybe it's a way of getting rid of some of the flatness.
Jeremy Whalen says, love the reviews. Art has such an eye for this and can see things others can miss. Always an education on how to properly do a comic.
Hey, Jeremy, he's a Hack Shack alumnist. Unless it's another Jeremy Whalen, which you never know.
There's only one Jeremy Whalen.
That's true, man. That guy is a one of a kind. So I don't know. This is a little exaggerated, but the reason I went here is because you can already see these lines going into perspective, and one of the things, it almost starts leading your eye. Well, it does actually lead your eye to this. So all these lines start bringing your eye into where you want to see. So always keep in mind when you put vanishing points together and you figure out your perspective, figure those things out. And also, I mean, these figures would have to be redrawn because these are more straight on. They would have to be, because this right here would be the ground level. This is now the rooftop. So I don't know if you guys could see it. And then this line back here is now the ledge line. And so then this would be I guess the part that goes up, the ledge itself. And then this right here would become the outside ledge that would go here. It's a little too, well, it's a lot exaggerated, but without being able to set up the vanishing point off the page and things like that. it would be really hard to set this up. But I think you guys get the idea that if you have your vanishing point set on wherever your object is that you want people to look at, which is Batman and the bat signal, because the bat signal is getting blown up, it's getting blasted from off panel. So then all your eye, everything leads your eye to this action over here. This is not a hard, fast rule, but it usually works very well if you want to lead the reader's eye. And also it's a way of being more dynamic with the image versus kind of flat kind of thing. And also, if your eye level is up where I put it, this then becomes a little bit more of a down shot, and it's good to vary the shots because this second shot is almost the same as the top one, like the eye level. And then we go to a down shot, which starts really breaking it up in a nice way. So that works really well.
Mark says this guy would benefit from Alex Toth, and Mark says I've only been blasting this artist, but I can definitely see real talent.
Oh, he's very, very good. And one of the things is, I'm more like on that second panel. Some of the drawing of the figures and things was a little weak, and the composition is a little uninspired, but it's not bad. So I don't want to make it seem like it's really bad. So when I came up with that layout for that second panel, that was more of a suggestion of how to make it maybe a little bit more dynamic versus kind of blasting in with a hard and fast, like right and wrong type rule. So it looks like Batman's still just standing here unaffected.
He didn't even react.
Yeah, he hasn't even turned around to look at it yet. So it almost seems like Batman's in on this whole thing. So I don't know what the story is behind this, but Batman doesn't seem like he's part of what's going on here. So this is kind of a nice recap where you get to see the rooftop, you get to see what just happened. The bat signal is up in flames. It took down one of these guys, I guess that was next to the bat signal that we didn't see. And then you have Gordon on the ground, but then you have this guy running, which I'm not sure where he was and why he's running.
Yeah, he seems like he's
this guy right here
further away than he should be because they look pretty close together in the establishing shot.
Yeah, because he looks like if he didn't get knocked over, like Gordon, I guess Gordon's closer to the impact. This guy should be more or less like right here. Alpha. And then she should be still in the shot, right?
Yeah, sorry about that. Alpha says, too cool. Batman's too cool to turn around.
Exactly. So this is my rendition. This is my artist rendition of the Gotham PD guy, and then this is the girl right here. So I'm just messing with you guys, but that's kind of the positioning that they should be in, based on the layout and positioning that you put earlier. So that's where, okay, he nailed it. So this guy right here is the guy that's knocked down because he's the closest.
Okay.
So that's what this guy down here is. So that's pretty good. You're kind of keeping track of your characters except for the girl and I guess the two Gotham PD characters that were next to Gordon. So good perspective, that panel there, the third panel. And so Batman is still very formal here, so I'm not sure what the message is. Like he's still kind of just looking straightforward, unaffected by everything.
It's a little robotic.
Yeah, and then Gordon's like, "What the heck? Do something! I just ruptured a kidney here." So yeah, I don't know. There's something weird going on here. I don't know if the arm's too short or something's happening. So those are the shoulders from left to right. The elbow maybe down here, out a little bit more. So I think what I'm seeing is Thomas may be having a little bit of problem with people in normal clothing because this looks a little odd. And I was trying to say, don't look at Jason Fabok and don't look at Dave Finch for that reference. Really start looking at real people in suits and jackets, and it will help. So Batman's a little thick here again, but it could be a stylistic thing. It's not necessarily bad. I just want to know what's going on now. This is some crazy stuff.
Yeah, I wonder what the dialogue is.
Yeah. I wonder if this is like a script that he was working from, or if he made up this story. So I'm seeing some problems with the neck a little bit, just in positioning of muscles. So yeah, so overall, maybe some, check out some anatomy. But let me see if I can do this. Yeah, well, maybe not. Maybe it's pretty right on. I don't know, maybe this one here needs to go over. It looks, maybe the neck is, maybe that's it. The neck's too thick. Maybe the...
I think you're right about that.
Yeah, maybe that's... So maybe if the shoulders, I don't know, that might be too low. But maybe if the top of his shoulders were a little bit more like that, and then the shoulders came down. Oops. Oh, there we go.
Jeremy says, Jim Gordon's got ruptured kidneys, a weak heart, thinning hairline, dandruff, multiple broken bones, bad eyesight, and a smoker's lung. This guy is falling apart.
That's well said. And he lost his glasses.
Aw, he did. I don't think he got him back throughout this page.
Yeah, this Gotham PD guy should be picking him up and handing them to me. Here you go, Gordon. Here you go. Well, make sure you get home okay. I'll tuck you in.
Aw.
He's an old guy. I'll read you a story. Yeah, so maybe if the shoulders were a little lower on Batman, I think that already starts looking a little better.
Definitely.
His traps are a little tall. He's got big traps. And, oh my gosh, the perspective is not even starting to work. I'm sorry, Thomas. This panel here. Yeah, find your eye level. So this guy at the door looks like he's floating. And I don't know, is this supposed to be the door that's behind him?
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought maybe there were steps, but you don't see them in the shot.
Yeah, and there's like a little bit of looks like an arm rail or something here. So yeah, it looks like it's supposed to be possibly up on steps, but they're not established anywhere else. So that could be the perspective problem, but you don't see the platform that he's on, or that Thomas established a platform. So yeah, so that could be the problem. If he wasn't on a platform, you probably wouldn't see this guy behind the Gotham PD guy in the foreground, because he would be a lot lower in the composition. So I think your eye level is probably about, I want to say, where I drew this straight line across. So even having said that, unless all these Gotham PD characters like her, this guy, and we already talked about this guy, are up on a platform, they're really high. They're really high comparison to these guys. Unless this was more of a down shot, which for some reason it doesn't look like it's a down shot. It could be though. But anyways, the perspective looks a little confusing to me. So
we just got a super chat for $5 from Mike C. Thank you, Mike C. And I'm sorry, Mark C. How disrespectful that I mispronounced your name after you gave us a super chat. Mark C says, real people in normal clothing distilled to the minimum was why I suggested Toth, particularly his romance comics.
Oh, you nailed it. Yeah, he understands like the key folds that you need to get the point across. And then everything else is just like icing on the cake. It's kind of like muscles. Get your main muscle groups in the right place, and then you can do your secondaries and your striations and all the details later. But if you can get those in the right place, just like a fold, it really helps. And Toth is a great guy. I thought initially he meant because of the blacks, but yeah, I mean Toth is he's just a master of everything. So look at him for all the way around: proportion, form, composition, perspective, blacks, folds. There's also, I don't usually recommend Bern Hogarth because I think his drawing book it's a little weird, even though I have it and I do kind of refer back to it from time to time. But having said that, excuse me, he has a book on folds and wrinkles, and it's really, really good. And he breaks them down, stress folds. He's got names for them and everything, and it's a really good book. So if you guys are out, I'm sure there's other books out there, but I just don't know of any off the top of my head. But the Bern Hogarth book on folds is really, I think it's pretty good, and it's very dynamic too, because he's put these characters in pretty extreme positions, kind of, because he's a comic strip guy, or was. So yeah, he definitely puts those things in the most extreme positions, and some of the folds, just like with his drawing in his drawing books, are overdone, but he still breaks them down and gives you a pretty good idea of how they work, directionally, where the stress folds are coming from, all that type of stuff.
That's his best book, I think.
Yeah, and
Personally.
it's right here somewhere because I was just looking at it the other day. But like I said, still see how suit jackets work, see how real folds work. And with the internet, it's so easy to find that reference. So, yeah, this hand looks like it's a little big. And to be honest, your hands on some of the other pages was a little big. This drawing looks really good. So there's your vanishing point right there.
Oh, you can see where he actually did it.
Yeah.
We just got another super chat for $5 from Jeremy. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yes, thank you.
He says, I still say canon Batman should include bat nipples.
And a nice tight butt. Remember when he flips around, like the cape moves back, and then you hear that, and then they show his butt?
Oh, yeah.
Am I imagining that, or did that really happen?
No, that really happened. I remember that as well.
I think there is a slight sound effect. That's funny.
There's a reason that particular Batman gets so much crap.
Yes. Yeah, so I don't know. This is really good. This drawing is pretty darn good. I think there's still a little bit of knee positioning problems. The folds are pretty good in the, not folds, but these, in the way he did the muscles and the way they kind of come together here. The knee and the thigh. Yeah, this is really good. I don't really have much to say. I think your heads are still a little wide. That could be a stylistic thing, so that's not necessarily a negative.
Yeah, chat's digging this one. I think this one's the most aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, the drawing looks really solid. To bring some of Taylor's critiques, some of the length may be a little long, in some of these legs. But, I don't know, sometimes superheroes look cool when you elongate things a little bit, exaggerating. Art Adams made a killing, an amazing living doing it,
That's true.
Yeah, so, and I think Jim Lee exaggerates quite a bit with the lengths of stuff. And I believe the reason they do that is so that they can accommodate the muscle mass. Because if you can elongate the proportions, you can put more muscle mass on a figure without them looking squatty. Like if you ever see like those bodybuilders and those guys, they have a tendency to look kind of squatty because once you start bulking up, unless you can elongate like the proportions, like from the knee to the ankle, and elongate the shoulders, like widen them, then you're just putting mass on like a normal human proportion, and sometimes it can look wrong. So I think the reason, like a bodybuilder like Arnold or some of those type bodies, even Chris Hemsworth can carry that weight because he's already elongated. Like his body trunk and everything, and his neck is already elongated. So when that guy bulks up, it actually looks very aesthetically pleasing. But if you took a guy that was maybe a normal size, and put that kind of mass on him,
Thickens them up.
yeah, they look really thick and clunky, and they don't look aesthetically pleasing anymore. So
James says, good to see Art and Tag survive the convention.
oh, we had a blast. Should we talk about that a little bit while I assess Thomas's last drawing?
Yeah, why not? That was a really good time. Over the weekend, we were at, of course, Comic-Con Revolution, Ontario.
Yeah, so do some talking, Taylor, so I can drink my water.
Sorry, I didn't quite cover the amount of time.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, it was, oh my gosh, when we first arrived on Saturday, I don't think Art sat down we got there at like 10, and I don't think you sat down till like almost noon because of the flood of people that were at the table. And there was a constant flood of people on Saturday. There was maybe 10, maybe less than that interrupted minutes of like a slow trickle down. But besides that, it was extremely busy.
I think we were probably packed till about 2 o'clock, between 2 and 2:30. We were pretty jam-packed. And thank you, Taylor, for being part of it, because I don't know if I would have been able to handle that on my own. Because, you take commissions in the morning, so you're busy drawing, and then, you have the signatures, you have the great questions, and then you have, the business, the transactions that happen. So the best part of that, Taylor, is when I just got my head down and I'm drawing and I'm kind of like interacting with you and the people coming up. But when you just kind of keep handing me money, that's the best part.
I should have just held the change because I kept, I'd be talking and then be like, okay, $5. Like in between, because people always needed change.
You know what we got to get you is one of those fanny packs. And remember, like I always wanted these as a kid, those old school like change things where you click it and like the change drops out of the box. They're like the bottom, they're like cylinders.
I have a post-apocalyptic fanny pack. I should have brought it because I could have separated everything.
But you know those little change, like you have the lever and
they're
like,
metal, right?
Yeah, and they're like so there's one for penny, nickel, dimes, quarters, I think. So there's four. There's like 4 cylinders, and it's like on a belt. And there's like a little lever, and you just click it, and one coin drops out at the bottom.
Ooh.
So you can.
That sounds cool.
I just realized that would be so pointless because change doesn't mean anything anymore. So none of our prices are like $3.50. Like we should do that just so you can like use the change machine.
Can I do it with dollars?
It's $1.95. So then you have to give them a penny back or whatever.
Then I can hand them the coin and be like, Valor Mogulis every single time.
Oh, could you imagine if we had to start dealing with change?
Oh my gosh, it would have been a mess. It was already hard, like, because the prints were flying off, so we were dealing with usually increments of 5. Like it was a good thing, and it was a lot of fun. But it's crazy. It was pretty cool. Thanks for making me a part of it. It was a good time.
I know it was a blast, and like I said, I would be really stressed out, and I'd probably be sleeping right now if I didn't have the assistance there. So thank you, and you got to hang out with a lot of movers and shakers. So we may have some things to announce later on. So we were making some connections. Taylor was wooing some people.
You were wooing some people yourself.
There's writers. Well, those are more connections, like Hollywood connections, and possibly people that we might be partnering with in the future.
We can't say much, but stay tuned for that.
Yeah, artists and things like that.
Also, if you guys watch there's a video that's going to be uploaded soon. I got to edit it. It's the panel, the X-Men retrospective panel.
Oh, with Wills.
Yeah, the Art Wills and a guy named Steven. Do you remember his last name?
Stephen Gordon.
Stephen Gordon did. So that'll be uploaded soon. In the meantime, there's a compilation video of Art signing a bunch of stuff and doing a few sketches. And that is a time-lapse video, and it's 20 minutes. So just imagine how long signing all those books took. Art was doing a commission. I think you were drawing that commission in increments of 10 seconds. Because As soon as he would like put the pencil on, I'd be like, "Someone's here to sign these books." Like every time.
You got to grab the time when you can.
It's amazing you got that one done that day.
This perspective is amazing. This is really good. Wow. This is really well thought out.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say Thomas doesn't understand perspective. I think just that one panel that I spent time on, the Batman page, was just an oversight, and we all have that problem. But having said that, let's check to see if he didn't possibly repeat himself here. Let's line all this stuff up.
This makes me nervous.
I'm nervous for Thomas. We need a drum roll.
I can't do a drum roll. I was gonna do it on the glass, but I don't know if it would pick up.
I don't know. Maybe it's not. It's just. I think this line. I'm gonna have to blow it up so you guys can see. Let's see if I can find this. Okay. Yeah. I think instead of this line going more in this direction, it starts, let me take that line out. It starts going in more of this direction. And if you draw it long enough, you can kind of start seeing how it cuts in back on itself. So right here, it's kind of starting to go in this direction instead of out. So let me continue the thought. It all looks correct. So I think maybe it was just that one building. I don't want that tool. I don't want that tool. I want this tool. Yeah, so I think it's just this one building over here. This one, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it starts kind of cutting back onto itself. So this area right here, as far as the perspective, is kind of throwing it off for me. But the level of attention or the level of detail is incredible on this this overpass, this train trestle here.
That thing's pretty cool.
And this sign right in here, all this and all this with the shadow and everything. This is incredible. This guy is really accomplished. This guy, I mean Thomas. We're on a first name basis. But you can also see like that he put the dinosaur, like this is really good. Like that the eyes and stuff are kind of in perspective and you see the head. You know, it's pretty much leaning in the perspective shape. So this guy, this whatever is it, raptor or whatever.
It's pretty big for a raptor, by the way.
He's in the foreground here, so he might be a little big, but even though his head's not going in the perspective here, it looks cool because he's turning his head slightly and coming at you. So, and like this dinosaur back here with the big head, you know, he's looking up. It doesn't always have to follow the rule, but when you draw figures and put them into perspective, like even these guys running, they're all kind of in that perspective line. So this is really good. I hope he put a crazy grid down before he drew this, because that's what I would probably have done. But I don't see a lot of construction lines, so maybe he didn't.
Oh no.
Yeah, maybe he is that good. Maybe I should learn a lesson from Thomas here. So, yeah, I think this is pretty darn good. This perspective is pretty darn good there, Thomas. And the only thing I have is this shadow. Does this look weird to you, Taylor? This highlight right here? On the dino?
It does, but I couldn't tell you why.
I don't know how dino anatomy is, but this looks kind of like it's supposed to be a collarbone. If it was a human.
Yeah, is that what it is?
And it just looks...
Dinosaurs don't have pecs.
Yeah, it looks off. So I think, and I'm not really sure, that these movements just kind of keep going down.
I think
Like,
think you're right.
I don't think they go in this direction. I could be wrong, but I know they have a shoulder, so there has to be some kind of structure underneath. But maybe it's just the way it's shadowed. But this looks a little odd to me.
It looks like a human pec.
A human collarbone, yeah. And go ahead.
Oh, Sheldon just said his left heel looks like a hook into me. Looks like it hooks into me, he says.
Yeah, I'll get on that, but let me see if I can do this and see if I can prove my point.
That already looks better to me.
Yeah, I think maybe it's just a little too well lit. Yeah. So maybe just the shadow and the way that this is supposed to flow. So is it, he said the foot? The foot is hooky?
Yeah, I think he said the T-Rex's left heel looks like it hooks in.
Left heel. That would be this heel over here. Wouldn't it?
I don't know. I think it definitely looks like, I don't know if he meant the right one, because that leg does look a little strange.
Yeah, the only thing I see is that is this what he means by hooky?
Yeah, it looks like it is hooked into the ground or something.
That's the only thing I see, because this would be our right, but his left. So maybe he means his left, like the dino's left.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe all I can think of is do the cartoony thing where you're looking at the bottom of the foot.
I thought the same thing.
You know, like where the heel is over here, and these are the toes here.
Lifted up.
Yeah.
Title says, I was AFK for a bit. Next con I'm at and Hack Shack is there. I'm buying everything and change.
Oh, yes, thank you.
And yes, Sheldon was referring to that one.
And we'll bring like one of those change things for you.
And a paper hat.
Ooh, like a McDonald's thing?
Ew, they work at McDonald's? Or
What?
In-N-Out, they do at least.
Oh, paper hat. Oh, they still do wear paper hats
I forgot they do.
at In-N-Out. Yeah.
Good old school waitress. And I'll go corner, corner, corner. So I bring the prince in.
So, I don't know. Maybe if that's what... Who was it in the chat that said that?
Sheldon. He's been very astute, this chat.
Yeah, so maybe something like that, Sheldon. Is that kind of what you were thinking? That perhaps it wasn't... Maybe there's a little too much of the top of the foot, in the perspective, and possibly it's a little too angled, because if he was running, the foot might be a little bit more flat than arched down like that.
Ghost of Henry says, the fat soy boy running from the dino is priceless.
He's adorable. How dare you?
I don't know if he's a soy boy. He looks well groomed.
He's a tough guy. He's got his little goatee.
Wallet chain, leather jacket.
The thing is, we were making the joke, like she doesn't look as concerned as soy boy, as you call him, looks. But the thing is, as long as you're faster than this guy, you're probably okay.
Yeah, that guy's done.
So she's like, I can probably outrun this guy over here. So she's not as concerned.
That guy getting eaten has a really long leg.
Yeah, he's a little kung fu fighting there too.
He's trying.
He's like trying to fight that thing off.
Oh, he's trying.
He's trying.
Aw.
That's a lot of blood.
Yes, it is.
Looks like it's coming out of his neck.
I think it is, yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel like giving a lesson on blood splat. But yeah, that was a pretty good point. Taylor's maybe the knee in there, and maybe the ankle here.
Poor guy.
And then maybe the foot somewhere in here. Maybe less kung fu fighting.
I just noticed, by the way, the girl's actually in like running clothes. So
Maybe that's why she looks like she can outrun him.
Because she's got the shoes and the shorts.
But what if she's like on her last leg of her run? Like what if she had already like put in like 5 or 10 miles, and then she's just like, oh gosh.
That'd be a great scene in Chrono where someone's jogging and tired, and then all all hell breaks loose.
All right, Taylor, should I give the lesson on blood?
Do it.
Okay, so this is his neck, right?
I could stand to learn a thing or two about blood.
So, I don't know. Should the blood be coming out of his neck right there, or should it be coming out of the bite?
Out of the bite, right?
Yeah, let's leave it to the chat. Out of the bite or out of the neck?
Let us know where you think the blood should come from.
Man, that raptor is a pain in the neck.
Oh.
Okay, so if you drew through this guy's head, these teeth are coming down like right on the side of his head. So that's not good. And so then this is all of a sudden this becomes like, that's why I asked, like, should we do this or not?
This is very conflicting, by the way, because I know you guys can't like sense this part, but it smells so good in this house right now because I think Pamela's cooking or something.
Yeah, she is.
And then like I'm watching this dinosaur eat this man's face.
Well, it kind of, in a strange way, it kind of works.
Because I'm like, hungry.
Oh, a guy's head. Delicious. It does smell really good in here. And we had to close the windows for sound, so there's no fresh air coming in, so we're just getting a full-on brunt of that wonderful smell. By the way, you should have ate dinner with us last night. I just remembered, just to hurt you even more, we went to this wonderful restaurant after the con. Taylor just had to get home.
I was afraid I'd have to throw up.
Oh, no.
Because I had a headache.
Really? It was that bad? You actually handled it very well then. So it was full on migraine?
Yeah, I mean, I threw up when I got home, but...
Oh my gosh.
My brain, I'm very sensitive to nothing.
You know what, you guys? She never tells me this stuff, but she tells me this stuff through you guys. So she always comes in like she's like this tough girl, right? Like how you doing, Taylor? Because I knew she wasn't feeling good yesterday. So then she's just like, yeah, it was great. I feel good. And then in the chat, she's like, yeah, I was vomiting.
Well, it's funny now.
I guess first thing in the morning it wasn't.
Ghost of Henry says, brains.
Exactly. You know, I think this T-Rex claws are in the ground.
Yeah, he's right. They are.
Yeah. As I blow it up closer.
Yeah, I didn't think he meant they were literally.
Oh, now I feel like I feel bad. Poor Taylor.
I felt like that guy right there.
The guy right there. Well, he's not vomiting unless that is vomit. All right, so here we go. So the reason I drew through his head is because, like, to get the trajectory of the blood, like if the jaws are coming in that way and you wanted to get graphic, I think the blood would start like coming out of like where the impact is.
That looks more right.
Like this, kind of thing, versus being down here. So that was a long way to go for the blood lesson. But anyways, yeah, it'd probably be there. And also, you can do like these kind of blood splats that almost become like these impact lines. So you can design these kind of where they accent the storytelling. So these kind of help bring your eye to the impact where the bite on the head is actually happening. So there's that. And really, I do think, because I'm looking at these folds and these jackets and stuff, Thomas is looking at comic books for some of these folds. Yeah, go back to the source. Go to reality, my friend. It will help you out immensely. But this is good. This is really good.
So what do you think overall? How close is Thomas to being like a full-blown professional or taking full-blown like professional work?
Well, I think there's two things. One, I think Thomas has got to work on like an identity of his own. Like he's got to become his own person. Emulating other styles and things isn't bad. Like that's how we learn. But I think to get hired, he might want to start finding a little bit of his own like vocabulary, his own style. And I mean, he is emulating a very commercial style. You know what I mean? So if you're going to emulate somebody, it's good to emulate something that is popular, because then you have market value and you can get work. So I would say that it's not necessarily a bad thing, but personally, I'd like to see Thomas have his own identity. And the next thing is Thomas is 90% there. So, and that's really good. So maybe 10% work on some of the things that we were outlining, the dimensions, the length of like between, like elbows and wrists and knees and ankles. Some of the stuff's a little long, a little exaggerated. The folds, definitely, and maybe some of the perspective problems. But other than that, this stuff is really, really good. And Thomas, if you're listening, send us an email. We might have a job for you.
Yeah, there's a contact button, second link in the description, Thomas, if you wanna chat.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you live, but yeah, we have something, and also it would be a big departure from the style you're working in as well. So it could be fun to try to work in a different style. So should we wrap this up?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Thanks for joining in. When do you want to do another one of these, Art? There's quite a few, but we could always use more submissions.
Yeah, definitely bring in more submissions, because that's going to dictate pretty much how many of these we can do in the future. So the more we have, then the more we can do. We used to, God, when we first did this, we were inundated. So we were doing 3 different artists in the same portfolio review. But since we don't have as many, we're doing, smaller and I guess more of detailed portfolio reviews with a single person.
That's right. Ooh, James Hayes just asked, did you get any From the Ashes We Will Rise fun?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. Yeah, it was so much fun. We even said that at the Wills X-Men panel. I announced like, hey, if you say this, you will get this. And I held up the poster and everybody's like, ooh. So the funny thing is it became kind of like, where's your table? Because you realize I didn't tell them where the table was. So it became kind of like a Pied Piper situation where a lot of people just followed me over to the table.
Yeah, Art was being followed by like 6 people, and then Wills led you the wrong way.
Oh my gosh! Like I'm like, I think it's back here, and Wilson's like, no, it's over here. So he went in his direction, and I went in mine, and yeah, he went in the wrong direction.
But there was a ton of people. Thanks for the support, and I guess we didn't explain. At the con, we had a promotion going where if you said the code From the Ashes, we would return the phrase "We will rise," which is of course our villain's mantra in black and white. And if you did that, you got a free, very cool, exclusive black and white print.
Yeah, an 11 by 17 print that we made up just kind of for this promotion. So one of the things that we did today is we printed up more of those prints. Did you see those this morning? That stack I had?
I did not.
Yes. We have more of the prints. So what we thought might be fun, and we're still trying to figure it out, is if in the chat you guys type in From the Ashes, we'll pick one of those people in the chat that, types that in. And then at the end of the stream, we will pick one of the names, and then we will mail you one of the 11 by 17 prints. So we'll probably explain this more in the future streams, but just to give you guys a heads up that's going to be the cool thing. And it's going to be kind of the celebration of the wind down on Black and White. If you guys haven't heard, Taylor and I are working on a book called Black and White, and we're crowdfunding it right now through Indiegogo, and it's in the shop, and it will probably be in the shop for maybe a month or so, and that's it, and then we're going to close it down. So the posters will help us kind of celebrate and kind of, I don't know, commemorate the countdown and the big celebration that is Black and White. So yeah, so if there's more details, if you want to know more details about Black and White, the comic and everything, I believe it's in the link. Is that true?
Yes, the link is in the description for Black and White Remastered, in demand right now, for now, on Indiegogo, so go check that out.
Yes. So is there anything you want to add, Taylor?
One last thing, there is the link in the description if you'd like to submit if you'd like to submit your artwork for portfolio review, I should say. And if maybe you have some friends or aspiring artists that are into comics, you can lead them to that link, And tune in when we do these because we always announce them on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to Art's Twitter, which is also linked in the description, Facebook, etc. And turn them on to this so we can keep this going.
Yes, and it was a lot of fun, guys. Thank you so much, Thomas, for braving the portfolio review. The stuff is really, really good. So you have a future, my friend. So I'll talk to you guys later.